A massive Titan helmet was found in the ocean. Now it's time for you to let go of the Matrix. Now it's time for you to let go of the lies and all the information you've been told. The history books, they forgot to tell us about this, didn't they? And look, if you see up here, there's a gash. There's a gash at the top. And that's where he probably got hit, and that's how he got deleted. Because if you know, the Nephilim giants were created because the fallen angels, the Watchers, came down to Earth and had relations with human women and created huge giants, huge titans, hundreds of feet tall. They were called the Nephilim. The offspring of the Nephilim, we'll get into that in a second. So if you didn't know, there's different types of Nephilim. There's 3 main classes of Nephilim. They're not all the same, all right? Nephilim giants came to Earth because the Watchers in the firmament were looking at the human women and they wanted to have wives or procreate with them. So they came down and they created giants, men and women, okay? Because the offspring of the Nephilim were called the Eliad, and the offspring of the Eliad were called the Gibborim. These are probably the Gibborim, the Goliath-sized people, all right? These were probably the Eliad, anywhere from 50 to 100 feet. And then the Nephilim were hundreds of feet. And in the book of Enoch, it talks about Els, which is the measurement of height. And some scholars believe that they were possibly thousands of feet tall, which is inconceivable. But there is evidence of giant petrified creatures throughout the world. The reason why the Nephilim were created in the first place is because the angels were not satisfied with their position. They weren't satisfied with what God gave them. It wasn't enough for them. And we have the same problem, right? God is not enough for a lot of us. And so these dudes were all over the place. It got to a point where the Nephilim giants were no longer being satiated by the food being presented by the humans. And then the giants started eating the people. Okay, so that's why you have shows like Attack on Titan showing that kind of activity. And that's what happened back in the day before the flood. All right? And so then it gets to a point where the giants start fighting each other, which is why you have huge pieces of armor, huge helmets and stuff being found, at least that one anyway, because they eventually start fighting each other, and that's what God caused them to do. If you look at the book of Enoch, it explains how the fallen angels tried to get back into God's good grace. The Nephilim started wiping each other out. That's why the flood happened. It was anarchy and chaos everywhere. Imagine people like that, men and women like this, walking around, destroying your villages, crushing your people, eating the people, fighting amongst themselves in your countryside or in your city. This is all from deviating from God's will. When we deviate from God's will, when we disobey the Lord and disobey Christ, imagine if, Lucifer never rebelled, what things would be like right now. Imagine if the Watchers never came down. There wouldn't be no flood. You know what I'm saying? So, obedience to God, obedience to Christ is uncomfortable sometimes, but it is for our benefit. God knows what's best for us, okay? You end up having giants crushing people, you causing all kinds of problems in your life and other people's lives when you deviate from God's plan. Yes, I just did a little sermon. So this first wave of Nephilim giants back in the day, they were tall, they were strong, and they were seen as gods by the humans. But they're all gone. They got wiped out. They came back after the flood, according to the book of Numbers. Joshua was scouting out the promised land, and the son of the Anakim were there, or the Nephilim. But this first wave, the huge ones, the 100 feet tall ones, they're gone. They're wiped out. They could not withstand the power of God. They cannot resist the authority of Christ, who is God. Okay? So the point of this video is to show you that there is physical evidence of the things in the Bible, of these giants. Abraham Lincoln talks about giants. It's almost not even a conspiracy to believe that giants were real and are real. Okay? So the Bible is true. And the whole story of the Bible points to one person, who is Jesus Christ, who is God in the flesh. Now, I don't want you guys to be confused. I'm just making conspiracy videos for fun, put myself out there for flat earth and all this stuff. No, the only reason why I talk about any of this stuff is because I want you to know that Jesus Christ loves you. He is God in the flesh, and there is no other way to be saved. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.